Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, December 3rd, 2019. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. One thing you'll notice here is the fact that price has pulled back from recent highs. One thing we talked about in the previous pre-market video here is the fact that price in the ES was rejecting the previous month's highs, also all-time highs last week, and also was sitting right at or just around the previous month's close. I mentioned the fact that these two were very close to each other if they go offered. The only other level left to test would be the 3094, and we got that here recently in the last 10 or 15 minutes or so. And below that level, the previous low right here. This is the previous month's low. So this is the previous month's midpoint right here, previous month's high up here, and this right here is the previous month's close, this line right there. So to break through that zone right now would be very significant and would suggest more weakness ahead, likely back to the previous month's low. The previous month's low is 30.33. So we had 30.94 on the board yesterday as a likely target if we reject that zone. We hit 30.94 today. If we fail to hold above 30.94 today, if we close below it, it could be a nice continuation toward 30.33. Now there is a shot here that we could reject the previous month's mid here today, and by the end of the day we're somewhere above the previous above the day's midpoint. If that's the case, we would throw off a tail, and that would suggest a bounce here out of the pivot range moving forward. So there could still be a buy the dip opportunity here for eager bulls, but you have to see signs of rejection. Right now it appears you probably need to flush a couple of days as we did to begin October. One big day here, one big day down. That's one day here. We're barely getting underway today, and then perhaps it gets going. If there's a rejection at the previous month's close, that could get it going higher. That could be day 3. So again, we're kind of marking how we did back in the last couple of rotations. Remember, this market has been very bullish overall. Is only had 2-day, 3-day pullbacks only a couple of times here just in the second part of the year. Since this big pullback in August here, that was the low, and it bounced. Every time it had a 1 or 2-day pullback, it bounced. Here was a 2-day pullback, it bounced. Everything else was 1 day. So to pull back here 3 days, get back toward a midpoint. Again, even if we pull back as deep as the previous month's low, that could still be a buying opportunity for a push higher heading into next year. So we'll see how this develops here early on. Keep an eye on the previous month's midpoint, 30.94. Alright, here's a look at the ES, or rather the NQ, which follows the ES very similarly. Again, we did reject off of recent highs here, but we didn't really test the high right on the money. Kind of got just shy of that high, then took out the previous low. We reached the midpoint today. That was about 82.72, I believe. That was a level we mentioned we could reach. We almost reached it yesterday, and now we're breaking below it. Again, to break below it would suggest a continuation toward the next lowest level here, which is 80.84 half. 80.84 half. So basically right around 8100. We're at 82.27s right now. We could easily see a continuation toward that level. Again, given the fact that we have an uptrend here, if we were to see a push here, there could be a trap between the previous low and the FOMC key level here. That could provide a bounce opportunity higher down the road. So while this could show more selling pressure in the next few days, maybe 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, we could see a rejection opportunity once we see a test at the previous month's low. Alright, let's take a look now at crude oil. This one's down about 0.9% right now. At the lows of the recent 2-day range. It's also sitting on the previous month's close price. That's this blue dotted line. Previous month's close price, which is actually Friday. It's sitting right there on that line. That's a very important line. This is a major sell-off Friday here, and 2 restful days. Rest after battle would suggest more downside selling pressure ahead. If we break down through the previous month's close price, again, the only level left really to test below would be the previous month's low. That's this price right there. Previous month's low right now, 54.07. 54.07. We're currently trading 55.47. So again, if we break down through these lows here, it could open up at least a return back toward 54s. That's a recent support as well. And that could again provide a bounce opportunity back up. If it fails to hold there, it opens up the next key support level down below, which is about 51. All right, lastly, taking a look at gold futures. You'll see here with gold futures, we've gotten a big breakout to the upside. One thing we talked about in the previous pre-market video was that we had a 10-day range that was very compressed here with gold. I showed this range here and this compression and how we had a tail here. I mentioned that we could be looking at an upside break here pretty soon. If it can get above 1470, it opens up some upside that could get us into 1495 to 1505. I also talked about the amount of points that we would likely see once we saw that expansion. We were at about 45 rather. So 45 we were measuring from this low here of 60 would take you to about 1505 in terms of ADR. So we're already seeing that breakout occur. We'll see how many points we get. But the last couple times we've gotten quite a bit more than 50, about 75. So we'll see. Again, lower highs here. Don't want to overshoot the target, but somewhere between 1495 and 1505 could be a good target to the upside. Got to be able to hold these gains after the breakout though. Otherwise, a failure to hold the midpoint for the day could suggest a rejection here. And again, that might open up another round of weakness. So 1480 very important here. Can price stay above 1470? Can we see a further continuation higher today, or at the very least hold on to these gains? Otherwise, again, failure to hold today's midpoint could be indicative of more weakness to come back toward the previous month's low. But right now, everything suggests more upside. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.